I've always been a cat lover, so today I'm making this button-eyed cat girl, complete with cute little cat ears and a long posable wired tail. But how do you style doll hair around those ears? My name's Jo, I'm a full-time doll artist based on a narrowboat in Wales. I'm starting off with a light grey skin fabric and some black and white stripes for the legs. The stuffing I'm using is kapok. Pushing kapok into the tiny hands and arms can be awkward, as hemostats just won't fit, but I found these heavy-duty tweezers in the electrical section of B&Q, which is a large DIY or hardware store in the UK. These work really well as a stuffing tool. They're much better than those flimsy ones that are sold for crafting. I feel like she really needs some lace-up boots, so I'm painting those on before I attach the legs. I use System 3 acrylic paints with a little bit of fabric medium mixed in. I paint the laces in titanium white first and then go over that in some phthalo green to get a nice bright shade. The phthalo green is quite transparent, so it would just get lost against the black without a white base. A few white highlights over the top help it stand out and stop the laces looking flat. I've made some cat ears from black quilting cotton. I've just tucked in the seam allowance at the bottom, ironed it and left it open. For a doll this size, they don't need any stuffing or interfacing. I'm going to ladder stitch them to the head all the way around the base. Then they should stand up without being too stiff. The most challenging part will be styling the hair around the ears, but we'll come back to that later. I was undecided whether to go for dark grey or pale green eyes, but I decided on these pale green buttons. I think they'll look awesome, but first she needs some dark shading behind them for contrast. As usual, the shading is all done with Derwent Coloursoft pencils. I want to get this nice and dark. The shading will show a little through the translucent parts of the buttons and make that texture really stand out. I soften the edges with a blending pencil and give it a coat of fixative spray. While that's drying, I'll make a tail. The tail is basically a long thin tube of cotton fabric. Turning a piece like this can be tricky, but the bodkin makes it a lot easier. I sew a bit of thread through the looped end inside the end of the tail. Make sure it's secured and then I can just pull it through. When I was growing up, we called these pipe cleaners. I don't think many people use them for cleaning pipes these days, but you'll often see them sold as chenille sticks. The fluffy pile on them pads the tail out a bit and acts as a sort of stuffing. When I'm making a cat without clothes, I make a hole in the torso to insert the tail, then stitch around the base. But for this doll, it's all going to be covered by the clothing, so I'm just whip stitching it and that'll be enough to hold it in place. I've made a bodice from some quilting cotton with a tiny skull and crossbones print, trimmed with some black lace across the top. This will be permanently fixed with the arms attached over it, so I take a bit of time getting the position right, then ladder stitch up the back with some extra strong thread. The thread I'm using is Gutermann Top Stitch, which is a strong polyester thread. This is the best one I've found for doll making. I have some gorgeous black guipure lace for the skirt. I haven't measured it, this is just a remnant left from another doll making project. I've machine sewn the ends together and I'm adding a running stitch around the top to gather it up. Guipure is quite a heavyweight lace with a lot of structure, so it will hopefully stick out like a ballerina skirt, allowing the tail to peek out at the back. I think I've judged the size about right. It'll just need a few stitches to hold it in place, then it's onto the face detail. I'm using Derwent line maker pens to draw the details on the face. As usual, I'm using my magnifying lamp for this. Most of my dolls don't have a nose, but as this little one is going to be a cat girl, I'm making an exception. I was tempted to draw some whiskers, but I like to keep the faces quite simple, so I decided against it. I would love to attach some 3D nylon whiskers next time I make a cat, but that's something I've never done before, so if anyone knows how to fix whiskers securely, please do let me know in the comments. I'm adding a little shading around the nose and mouth to give them more depth. This time I'm using the burnisher pencil to blend it. It's a little bit harder than the blending pencil, so it's great for fine details. I'm starting to see her personality come through now. I've already bead jointed the arms, now they just need attaching to the body. I stitch through the shoulder with some extra strong thread and loop it through the bead. If you'd like a full explanation of how I do the bead joints, I'll put a link up on screen at the end to another video where I go into a lot more detail about it. Last week I paid a visit to my local yarn supplier and had a look around the warehouse, and I found this. I've used some Signet metallic yarns before, but this is a new colour and I'm really excited to try it out. If I can find a link for this yarn online, I'll put it down in the description. I needle felt it directly into the head with the Clover pen style tool and 3 38 gauge needles. There's no need to make wefts with this method, which saves so much time. You can unravel the yarn before felting, but I find it easier to felt it in first so I can get a nice full even coverage. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like button to let me know. You can also subscribe if you like so you don't miss the next one. I'm getting as close as I can around the ears. I'll need to bob a bit more yarn on top, but I'm going to unravel all this first so I can see where the gaps are. This is a 4-ply super chunky weight acrylic yarn. It does take quite a long time to unravel and comb out, but it has a lovely wavy texture and the high shine finish is so worth it. I'm felting a few more strands over the sparse areas. I think if I lay some strands across the top and felt a side parting, it should be enough to hide the roots. The front is a little bit too bulky, so I'm going to pull these strands across to the side and stitch them in place. This little pumpkin charm makes a really cute little hair clip. I've made her a necklace with green glass beads. This mouse charm is a perfect finishing touch. If you want to have a go at making your own bead jointed doll, check out the video on screen now to see how I put all those pieces together, and I'll see you next time. Bye!